Yes, good evening indeed. We've just, just came out of that briefing earlier on where we heard the Minister of Basic Education announcing that 80.1% pass rate for the matric class of 2022, the highest one since democracy, 1994, but also speaking about, other achievements that this class has managed, to score for itself. But also when you look at the various provinces, we looked at the results. Minister, welcome and thank you so much for speaking to us. We saw it's all up. Everybody is, but KZN coming in hard, coming in big.
Surprising. You can actually see it's actually been coming. It's more than 10 years investment, because if you look at the throughput rates in maths, when MEC, Minister Senzo was MEC, he just took a very difficult decision to say, I want all kids to do maths. It was difficult, it got them down. But what has happened throughout the years, and what is good, that MEC after MEC, they've really been stably keeping the sector stable. So you can see that they really have, and this 6.4% for me was exciting, but it's been coming.
And also, you're speaking about the MEC, you're speaking about leadership, decisions that needed to be made. We also saw Limpopo as well. I mean, they may be at the bottom, but let's interrogate that. 5% is quite a lot to move up in a single year.
It's quite huge, and they had promised, and that was their target. They had promised that they will go beyond 70%, and they really beat their own plans or their own determination. So I'm very proud of them, actually, because 5% is huge. And 6% for a big province like KZN is huge. And I'm heartened that almost every province, there's no province that want minors. So there's lots of competition with every province competing with itself and putting targets and meeting their own targets as provinces.
I don't know, last year when we spoke and we had this conversation, there was quite that concern with a lot, let's stick with Limpopo, with a lot of districts there being amongst the worst performing. This year you're only recording 3, but we were having this conversation that you're still going to go back into that province and see what else is it that you're able to do to help them, go into that 80s club. I mean, we saw KZN, I think they've also just, for the first time this year, reached the 80s club.
In Limpopo, there's still lots of work to be done. Last year, under the previous MEC Poli, we did visit with the Deputy Minister schools in Skukun, because that was the most difficult area. And what they had done, they even brought high-performing principals from Vembe and different parts of the province to work with principals of underperforming schools to really share notes with them. So I think that's why there's movement. So the MECs in the province themselves have really did focus on the core issue about learning, and it has paid.
But the rural provinces this year doing quite well. I mean, we visited a school in Piringi at one point where we saw that, in fact, I think it was that whole district, or, they had, the principals actually literally camped their children at school. A lot of your teachers showing that commitment. And are you feeling that it's paying off?
No, it is. As I say, we have an amazing cohort of teachers. And that's why I was also excited when it was reported that most young people want to take teaching as a profession. So we have a group of happy young teachers, committed, determined, and I think keeping the sector alive. It's a very amazing, strange thing that I think has developed, very heartening. I mean, our top teachers, when we do Teachers Awards, they come young, happy, and energetic. So, and you can feel it. But what is also quite clear, and which is paying dividends, as a sector, we consciously and deliberately focus on teacher support, supporting our teachers, because if you support your teachers, that support remains in the sector. But if you focus only on supporting learners, they go with that support, so it's unsustainable. So we've been focusing on teachers, but what is also great with the teacher unions themselves, all of them have got development agencies, and you can feel it. You can feel the effects and the impact of the work that even teacher unions do with their members, and you feel it.
And also, I suppose, Minister, let's talk about you. You've also another historic number there when it comes to the bachelor passes. Let's unpack them. It's a surprise box. Are you happy with what's inside? Are children able to successfully access higher education with what the statistics in terms of the bachelor passes, so that it's not just the conveyor belt of bachelor passes?
No, universities are spoiled for choice. When I look at when I was going to university, what universities now require you to join, to get into because there are no spaces to get into a medical. They will want sevens, or so they're spoiled for choice. Basically, with a bachelor, you should. It qualifies you to go to tertiary. So because there are limited spaces, universities are spoiled for choice. And from where I sit, I'm very excited and very happy that we're increasing our bachelor passes. And also happy that when I speak to the Minister of Higher Education, recognizes that we are productive at the bottom, and they're doing all they can to make sure that we have spaces for our kids. But the passes, and especially increasing and improving on the left, to have more bachelors, to have more diplomas and less certificate, for me it's very heartening, because even if they don't go this year to universities, or they want to go part-time, or they want to take a break, but they have a certificate or a paper that allows them to continue anytime they want to continue.
And also, we had this conversation last year, your gateway subjects. What is going on there? It's
also, as I say, if you go to our technical report, it's just that with announcements, you can't talk about it. I was happy to see, what's still your rural provinces? Limpopo has always been leading in terms of learners taking maths from poor communities. Because that's the other thing also, which was a big problem, that your rural and township schools kids were not taking maths. Limpopo is leading. And I was quite surprised that Mpumalanga also has a good uptake of maths. But KZN is leading because of the old decisions that they have taken. So there's also an increase. And if we're looking at the basket of performance indicators, you'll see that even provinces like Eastern Cape, which will be lower, it's higher, for instance, with maths uptake for rural and poor kids. It's higher also in terms of retentions. I was also surprised that a province like Limpopo has a better retention percentage compared to some of these provinces that are highly performing. But in terms of maths and science, we're still not there. The NDP wants us 50% to be able to take maths and science, but provinces are bravely moving. But to really want it at grade 12, it won't work. I'm very encouraged with ECD. We have to ramp it up where it matters, that they develop conceptual tools or concepts quite early in life around problem solving. Our report on your school readiness on ECD tells us that's where the problem is in terms of school readiness. So I'm very encouraged that with ECD, we will be able to ramp up at all levels. And with time, we'll be able to have the numbers that we want in maths. But it's not something I hope would have happened over time, but we're reaching the targets.
Thank you so much, Minister.
Thank you very much for the opportunity.
And you've heard there, that was the Minister of Basic Education, Ms. Angie Motshekga, just telling us, about the surprises that came out of this year's results. We saw, the KZN, the province of KZN, just making it into that 80s club. You would normally find your Gauteng, your Western Cape, and the Free State that would normally be in that top three. But we saw them with a 6%, with an over 6% increase. But we also saw the province of Limpopo. I mean, it was quite a topical issue with the previous results that, the performance there not so well, but they've managed to move away from that 60%. But the class of 2022 as a whole, sitting at that 80.1%. This is the second highest after 2019, just before COVID. This is the class, they were in grade 10 with the advent of COVID when the world was in a pandemic. But I suppose that class just showing the country that all things are possible. We heard the minister congratulating the class, saying that, they have shown that it really is possible when you apply yourself. But also speaking about the work that educators, I mean, it is a system, everybody's input, and everybody, it's a building block, educators and them being able to stand in that classroom, being able to impart that knowledge on their learners so that in days like this, we are able to report pass rates such as the